Dallas Air Force Base.
Yeah, Master Sergeant Blake. I'm a respiratory care practitioner, and I'm up in University of Alabama, Birmingham, at our Detachment 1.
Got a bunch of questions that folks had sent in advance, so thanks for asking them, and we're trying to give you the best data that we can. The first one I got in front of me is what makes a SOST, or Special Operations Surgical Team, different than other units? So it says Army GST or the JMU. We talk about like surgical teams in the conventional military. Again, I don't know everything, but they're like the Army, the forward resuscitative surgical teams, FRSDs and Ts. There's Air Force GSTs or ground surgical teams, and then there's the JMU, who belongs to the North Carolina folks. One of the things that makes us different from conventional units is that we inherently belong to Air Force Special Operations Command, or AFSOC, which is a small MAGCOM subcomponent under Special Operations Command, or SOCOM. So that's just organizationally what makes us a little bit different. Another thing is kind of who we serve and how we work. We really pride ourselves on being able to work outside of traditional medical environments, and particularly outside of typical medical CASEVAC chains or medevac chains. Our goal as Special Operations Surgical Team is to put ourselves as close to where a patient can get injured, and oftentimes the customer that we're working for is some sort of special operations folks. So that can be naval special warfare, that can be our Green Berets, it can also be Rangers, and there's also myriad other special operations folks out there that we're able to support in addition to traditional conventional military forces. So with that, we pride ourselves in trying to be not a liability on the battlefield, trying to be tactically proficient, as well as very, very good at our job of providing damage control surgery and damage control resuscitation. Brandon, what else are you missing?
I think it really comes down to our training pipeline. So being a special operations entity and out there with our SEAL teams, or whoever we're supporting at that time, having tactical proficiency is one of the key factors. So we go through a selection assessment. We also have a training platform that we go to once they're picked up from there to teach us fundamentals of shoot, move, communicate, also advanced trauma medicine, combat casualty care in austere settings. So there's a lot that goes into it that makes us able to work in these medium to high threat environments to get as close to those that we're supporting so that we can have the best impact on their injury patterns. And really, minutes matter. So for us, when you think about SOST, the closer we are to that casualty when it happens, the better they are and the faster we can get them to see their families again and take care of them.
Next question is kind of what's the SOST pipeline like? And Brandon started talking about it. We actually just had our class for this year just complete their pipeline. We're very, very excited to have those new team members. So again, the thing that makes SOST different is all the things that we learn. So it's we have a SOST specific skills course where we teach you how to SOST. How does we have armor, we have weapons, we have our own bag sets that allow us to provide that damage control surgery and resuscitation. So we walk you through every single thing. When you come to this job, you're expected to be good at your AFSC or your MLS, what your job is. We teach you how to do the SOST things, and so it's like we expect you to be able to learn how to use the monitors, how to use the equipment, how to use all of the different tactics and things for a surgeon in particular, how they approach cases, because that is a little bit nuanced and not typically what we do in the hospital setting. We do the driving courses to make sure that we are safe and sound to do all of the driving the vehicles that we're expected to do overseas, along with flying an aircraft. How does one provide care in the back of a C-130 or a CV-22? It is very different than what you would do in a trauma bay at a level of trauma center. Additionally, we are expected to do survival school, so we do SEER up in Fairchild, Washington. We also are doing water survival, all those fun courses. Additionally, some of our, depending on your specialty, we might send you to the critical care air transport course. We teach you a CASEVAC course specifically. What else do we use in learning?
Also, weapons proficiency. I think that's a key one. So they'll go through a weapons proficiency course, so they'll learn fundamentals of shooting. Kind of as I stated earlier, they'll also go and well, how we've changed the pipeline recently is to make it a little bit more streamlined. So when the students go through, it's kind of what we call a crawl, walk, run phase. When they start off, they're going to come in, they're going to have physical requirements that are needed. So those physical requirements are, where are they baseline and where are they going to be once they go through. We like to see progression throughout pipeline. And as they start off, they'll start off with, basic TCCC, basic march. They'll have what we call FMPs, full mission profiles, where they'll get to work through their bag sets. So we carry 6 rucks. In those 6 rucks, you get to learn the ins and outs of those rucks, what it feels like to carry a ruck, what it's like to set up a patient movement during that time, and all of that's learned. And the goal is to get them to this stage at the very end of their pipeline where they're now being evaluated. And during that kind of 2-week time frame, they're going to go into really a full mission profile with probably a SEAL team, or they'll go in with a Green Beret team. They'll get to plan, coordinate, and set up how they would execute downrange. And at the end of it, they have a massive culmination exercise that's about 24 hours in length, and they will go through everything they need, full mission profile to really graduate. And they'll be evaluated by peers of their AFSC, and at the end, they'll get that feedback and they'll roll through. And usually, our pipeline runs, it depends on schools that are available, but normally it's about a 4-month to 8-month process to get somebody into the pipeline and graduated through the pipeline.
So the next question will be kind of like a reasonable timeline to apply for SOST, especially after residency. So I'll kind of break it down into who can apply. So for physicians in particular, right now we're only taking folks who are on active duty or Guard and Reserve. It's for civilian applicants. Right now we're not able to gain you to select, but that's a now problem. If you're in active duty residency, either civilian sponsored or at one of our military training platforms, we can actually assess and select you during your last year of residency. That's what I did to join the teams. So if it's something where you can coordinate with your residency program to make sure you can get a week off to go to come and assess with us in that last year, we'll take you so we can start to actually plan your PCS to us should you be selected. If you want to do your residency and go practice a little bit and come back, that's totally fine as well. One thing that you have to acknowledge, though, is that when you do PCS to your first duty station after residency, you do have a time on station requirement. And Air Force Personnel Commander (AFPC) does own time on station waivers, and those can be challenging to get, especially if you've only been at your duty station for a year or two. So if it's something you're considering, if you're a resident now and you're considering doing it, I would strongly encourage you applying during your last year of residency to come and try out and see if it's what you want to do. Otherwise, there's no bad time to apply as a staff physician. It's just timing gets to be a little bit more of an issue.
So our next question is, what is the Monday to Friday job like for us? And it's a little complicated. So that's what makes this job so great is you never know what you're going to be getting into every Monday through Friday. So I'll really talk about kind of different phases. So if you're in the hospital, what's so great about us working at the Level 1 Trauma Center is we are able to go and do our jobs and really just absorb into the hospital, work trauma, work ICU, work critical care for 12 hours or as long as you really want to. We also have team trauma calls. So really, during the weeks, our surgeons will take a trauma call, and that's 24 hours designated for a team to be able to go and work together and enjoy that time of that interoperability piece of working with different AFSCs and learning each other's jobs. That's what makes us so great at what we do. But also, your Monday through Friday could be a trip down to Colbert Field, and you're down here doing an exercise, and you're getting to play on the range all night and drive around in M-Razors and do the job in the field. So it really depends on where you're at. That's what it does make it a lot of fun because there's so many variables and the schedule is all over the place that you really can go and have a lot of fun. And really a normal Monday for Friday for us could be just hanging out in the field and having a good time, or in the trauma bay with your team. So it, we can't really define what a Monday through Friday is like for us.
So we've got a high schooler, so graduate. The question is, what major should you be picking? So if you're, as far as like our different jobs we take physicians, we take nurses, we take respiratory care practitioners, and we take surgical technologists. Those are so the last two are enlisted career fields, and then the first two are officers. Um, Typically, if you are want to do one of the officer positions, it's going to be it's going to be a full undergraduate degree, usually in some sort of health related field. So I was a human biology major. What was your major again?
I was a biology major as well.
Right. So we're both nerds, and it's great. You know, if you want to be a physician, just setting yourself up to be very successful in undergrad, and then taking the MCAT and applying for medical school. If you want to be a nurse, again, most programs now are nursing specific degrees, and so setting yourself up to get your BSN, and then to be able to practice in an emergency medicine or a critical care setting. That's the kind of nurses that we're looking for. And then, if you want to be a surgical technologist, that's something where you don't necessarily need an undergraduate degree. More education is never the wrong answer, I think. You can always self-improve. And then for a respiratory care practitioner, we'll talk more about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so for respiratory care practitioners, it really comes down to the sciences. So right now within our career field, we are continuing to develop. So we have a pretty long school. So our school is about 3 years, and at the end of it, you earn your registered respiratory therapy, your registry, your board exam. And then from there, we're looking at going to a BSRT program. So right now, looking at the Bachelor's of Science of Respiratory Care. So having some type of science background is really setting candidates for respiratory school up for success if you have those fundamentals coming in. I had a biology degree when I applied to the program, got into the respiratory program, and it'll set you up for success because it is very demanding, and it is soon going to become a 4-year degree for us. And kind of what that transition looks like next is up in the air, but we continue to progress forward. So anything coming into this career field is science, but we have had engineering majors that have come through and done really great.
So the next question is deployment cycles and deployment life. So right now, the Air Force Special Operations Command has their AFSOF origin, their Air Force Special Operations Forces generation cycle, and what that is, it's a 24-month cycle divided into 4 different groups, so 6 months each. And so when you're in your committed phase or in your deployed phase, that's when we're sending a team out to. Right now, we have an enduring deployment. To where we're supporting special operators overseas. And then you do 6 months, you come back and you're in a reset phase, and you start to get on a training phase, and you get ready for your next deployment. The deployed life, I'll say that each deployment I've been on has always been very different than the last one. So to tell you what my next one's going to be, or Brandon's going to be, it's probably different, but it's typically, especially with your team, you've got your small, your 6-person team that you're relying on, that you're doing everything together, you're planning things together, you're living, sleeping, and working together on a day-to-day basis. Oftentimes, because of who we are as SOST, we are in places that are not the most bougie, as you would say. We live sometimes in tents and trailers, sometimes sleep in the back of vehicles. Obviously, as Rangers say, always trying to improve your foxhole and always trying to make your living situation better. But we can be in small forward operating bases with limited kind of communication back home. You build camaraderie with your teammates and then the teams that you're supporting. That's kind of been one of the hidden gems of rewarding on my last deployment was all the friendships and things that I made with the folks that I was supporting. Right now, we're in a fortunate situation where it's not the same tempo of people getting hurt like in the last 20 years. So, not as much clinically active cases as previous teams may have seen in the past, but still get a chance to do all the mission planning, do all of the working with these teams, like in the pipeline, you actually get to implement that and do that on a day-to-day basis. What am I missing, Brandon?
Well, I think with deployments, it depends. I think out of the 7 deployments I've done, with my 7 years on teams, it's been such a variety. One day you could find yourself, in the middle of the desert setting stuff up, and the next you can find yourself, on a ship or somewhere else on a beach. It really just depends, and that's what makes it so much fun is the variability. I mean, you never know where you're going to be next, and it's just setting yourself up to be ready for whatever mission is next in front of you. So next question is a hot topic for me. So any AFSCs that are in demand, and for respiratory care practitioners, I'm looking for any and all applicants possible for a respiratory therapist. But really, we look for everybody. I think we're always in demand. Our goal is to always have somebody and a group of individuals ready to rock and roll, to get into the pipeline, to get through selection. So really, we're open for business. So please put your package in if you are eligible, and if you have questions, just continue to ask and come to selection.
So as far as the question is, how do reservists tie into our current teams? So I'm not an expert in as far as how the reserves work, but the way we utilize reservists is through our IMAs or individual mobilization augmentees. There's a million abbreviations. I probably got that one wrong. But IMA program, where we essentially they are at home doing their own gig, working their own job, their specialty, and they come to our training weeks. They come and help us out on exercises. Right now, we're not currently using it for deployments. Really, it's for kind of help on the backside. Really for, I would say, exercises and helping us evaluate new teams for getting ready for deployment. That's been one of the ways that we've been relying pretty heavily on our reservists.
Yeah, we're small, so and we stay that way for a reason. But when we do our selection assessments, we don't have a designated team to do those. We don't have a backside cell that does our selection assessments and runs our pipeline. It's usually team guys that are doing that and stepping into those roles. So for those reasons, we will pull our IMA counterparts over to come help out to really decompress us so we can continue doing the mission that's downrange and not burn ourselves out.
So the next one is asking about inter-service transfers. So I always caveat this because if you go to our website and look at our application, there is a link that talks about inter-service transfers, and actually links you to an AFPC website that talks about, and I imagine they keep that pretty up to date if they're taking inter-service transfers or not. In the past we have. It just depends on the whims of AFPC, and I think also depending on, not necessarily the whims, just the needs of the Air Force and also of the service that you belong to if they're willing to release you. Because of all the variables, the two pretty big ones. Does the Air Force identify we need your specialty, and is your parent service willing to give you up? So right now, I would have to verify with the website to see if we are taking inter-service transfers. If you're willing to do the work, though, I'm always open to folks putting in a packet and applying and asking the question, raising your hand and saying you want to do it. I recognize it's taking a couple hours and doing the whole thing, writing your essays and everything, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So there's no harm in at least putting in a packet, and our phase one board can look at you, look at your particular situation, and see if there's anything we can do to try and invite you over to phase two to a trained person.
So our next question, are there any 4Ns, 4As, 4-1As that support SOST? So currently right now we don't have any of those positions available to come over to SOST. We just recently, a couple years ago, were able to get two MSCs for each det, or one per det, which was awesome for us because a lot of the admin tasks we were trying to do on our own. So when we got our MSCs, it truly saved us from a lot of the things that we didn't really know a lot about. Talk is, moving forward, that could end up being something that is going to kind of come to fruition as we continue to grow and expand. And those opportunities to have a 4A or to have 4N support come over, but within the teams there's not at this time.
So the next question is: are there opportunities to go through Army schools like Airborne or Ranger? So yes, you can try and ask to get that. A lot of the problem can be essentially just you got a lot of other SOST requirements and things being issued for deployment and for all your exercise and things like that. If we can find a way to carve out some time and find a billet for you to go do a school like Airborne or Ranger, we can ask a question and try and make it happen for you. A lot of the time, it's just trying to find the the right time for you to go do it because those are cool. Those are really great. Rangers are an amazing leadership course. Airborne is an amazing capability for an individual. But our number one priority is to make you a good sauce team member and everything.
Yeah, each one of those schools, Airborne's not as long, but Ranger School is so many variables on length of time and getting through all the way, and it really just takes away from your time being on teams and deployability. Again, we're small, so we really rely on everybody to step into those roles and be able to get out the door. But there is opportunity.
So the question is, how many people apply for phase one versus those who make it to phase two?
So typically a phase one selection, if you look at an application, normally we have upwards of 12 to 20. It just depends on that class and who applies. They also get vetted during that time. So with your phase one, it's two really phases of that. You have your kind of written portion. So we take a look at your what you've done. You send us a paper trail of all the great stuff, your resume. You send us an essay, you get PT scores, and we take a look at that. Then from there, we select who gets to go to the phase one selection assessment. At phase one selection assessment, you could show up with 12. Normally, historically, it's been an average of maybe, I would say, 3 selected, 4 selected from those class, but it just depends on the class size and who's going through. Once that class is picked up and they go into the pipeline phase, into their phase two, then normally we'll try to build up a class of 15. But really, phase two is where we are normally selecting. I would say 4 on average. So
what roles do the RNs or the nurses play in the SOST teams, and then what specialty is best to gain experience to prep to apply for SOST? So our nurses are crucial. Our nurses are huge on our teams. They oftentimes are blood bank managers. Blood is something that it's very, very hard to do resuscitation and surgery without that. They are they can be team leads. They've had great nurses be team leads in the past. They can function to help our team sergeant accountability things. They're great at they're great people person. So they can literally really good allies to go and integrate with our supporting units. So they're critical into how we deliver that capability to the ground force. And really, what specialty? Really, emergency medicine is where we see folks as well as the ICU. We need you to be experienced with dealing with sick patients and be comfortable with sick patients. I don't think there's one that's better than the other. I think that just being comfortable with resuscitation, being comfortable with access, and just being a good communicator, just being able to really good is what I found that I was for in a nurse. I think that everyone else is huge.
Yep. So next question is, how long does it take to get a seven skill level of respiratory care practitioner to be eligible? So right now we're actually looking at selecting senior airmen. So really a 5 skill level. Once you get your 5 skill level, you'll be able to come over, and then really when it comes to your 7 skill level, from there you're able to knock that out pretty quick, especially with some of the tasks that you're going to be placed in once you get onto teams. And also being able to go downstairs, be able to work trauma and critical care, those CMRP requirements, and also the things necessary to get your 7 skill level will get knocked out pretty quick. But right now, the new guidance that we're going to push out is that we are looking for highly motivated, tip of the spear senior airmen that want to come over to SOST and start opening up some of that talent pool.
There's a question from a last year civilian surgical resident who's in the FAP of the Financial Assistance Program, if they're eligible to apply during the last year. So the issue that we're having right now is that if you're not on Title 10 active duty orders, we are not right now able to invite you to become a selection. It's purely just we got to have you a tie to active duty or a reserve guard going. If you're FAP and just a IR, individual regular reserve, we are not able to bring in. Sorry about that. So you have to wait until you're at your next duty station.
So what happens after a SOST assignment? You continue or go back to regular Air Force. So this one is we try to keep highly motivated, really skilled individuals on teams for as long as possible. So when you come over, we actually, within the last year, got everybody SEI coded. So what SEI code means is that you basically have that SOST stink on you for the rest of your career. You get coded to say that you have been a member of SOST, you've been trained, you've gone through selection assessment, and then you really bring that added piece. We've been talking about this and looking at progression within teams. So we have an SEL who's a master sergeant, which is currently myself, so your senior enlisted leader. Usually is your highest ranking enlisted member in the DET, works directly for the DET commander. So those positions are open at both DETs. We have two SELs at the DETs, which is great. It's great progression. We also have NCOICs, we have flight chiefs, and we have the ability to grow. And really a 4-year tour is what you're locked into when you come over. But if you're flying on all cylinders, you're doing really great stuff, we try to set individuals up for progression. So you can stay on teams I've been on teams now for 7 years. And really once you make master and you're looking at senior, that's when we try to get you back to Big Blue or other opportunities. So you can take everything that you've learned within AFSOC and you can go develop others and take all that knowledge somewhere else, that leadership, that skill, that medical capability. We want to take that out. SOST isn't a forever job. So the skills that you learn here is growing you to go do great stuff if you have to go back to Big Blue. But it also opens up other opportunities that if you're working in a med group, you might not have just being in a med group. AFSOC has so many positions available for us if that comes up and it's time to PCS, even down here at Cloverfield.
Yeah, and for positions, you have the ability to grow into deck commander roles, again, to higher level person badge combat roles in AFSOC or other medical entities that exist in AFSOC that can be an asset to them because at the end of the day, we're medics, but we're also NCOs and officers who I think that AFSOC is really giving us a chance to grow and learn as leaders that some of our conventional colleagues may not have those opportunities really to try that because we get to work with some really smart and really skilled folks when it comes to our special operators. And then if you do go back if you choose to stay in the Air Force and want to make a career out of it and go back to Big Blue, I'd like to think that we're pretty well sought out after any of these because again you've got that stink on you of having worked in AFSOC. Then SOST, we both like SOST is a significant discriminator in that you've been assessed and proven to be a successful teammate and leader for the Air Force in general. So I think we do pretty well on that side.
So our next question is, what makes a good candidate for SOST, phase 1 and 2? So really, your phase 1 package is you need to be really, really good at your job. We are tip of the spear doing things in austere environments. So for us, we really want to find the best of the best that's out there for each AFSC. But with that comes humility, being humble, being a good team player, physically fit. I would recommend, we talk about being physically fit, but it's because the job demands that you be fit and be able to kind of have that threshold when times get stressful and you need to do and move a patient that could potentially be 200, 250 pounds with a 55-pound ruck on your back. So fitness is a big piece, but it's who are you as a person? That's what we want to see. We want to see somebody who we can deploy with for 6 months. We can trust them, and we can also spend 6 months with them and enjoy that time. So just being we call it being a good team guy. It's just being a good team guy. Humble, but willing to work together in a small team.
And some of the stuff you may not know about yourself, I think honestly, until you show up to phase 1. I say that I thought I knew a lot about myself, but then actually showing up in selection and going through the pipeline, you you learn a lot about yourself. And so some of this, again, if you're unsure if you have what it takes, try. I think that again, you gotta. There's a lot of folks that if you're a kid, say, oh, I could have joined the military. I could have try, give it a shot. Like honestly, and then find out you weren't picked up. That's okay. My gosh, you came out and you tried. A lot of folks don't do that. So I think that's a really that's something that give yourself the benefit of the doubt and make it happen.
So our next question is, what are your thoughts on joining special ops in your late 20s? And is a hard pill to swallow to leave your family? So I actually came into SOST. I had had some time experience in college. I came into my late 20s, went to selection assessment, and it didn't really affect me. I felt like I was physically in great shape, good mental spirit, and also maturity is a big piece. I felt like I was a lot more mature in my late 20s than I was in my early 20s. So I thought that really helped me out. I think some of my other teammates would probably say the same thing. You just have a better grasp on life and a better understanding of kind of where you want to be. That really helps you kind of get through that process. But it's on you. You know, that's where that maturity comes in. It's on you to train and be prepared for the rigors that are selection assessment and the job. Um, Leaving family is always a hard pill to swallow. You know, we do this because we love it. We love our families as well, but you are gone a lot. There's a lot of demand that's needed, but we also have a really good home life when we're home. You know, we have the ability to spend time with our families. You know, AFSOC does a great job on giving us that what they call heads in beds. They like to keep you home as much as possible, but when it's time to go, it's time to go, and just that honest kind of communication between your spouse or your loved ones is really critical. And I think some of us we juggle it better sometimes than others. We probably do a better job, but um, it is tough doing it. But you also gain another family as well, and it's finding that balance because your team is truly your family.
I think the sacrifice of the time away is very oftentimes rewarding in the fact that the people you get to work with, the things that you get to do, and that's one of the things that whenever I'm away from my family, I have kids, you know, it's you want to make sure you can justify that because this job allows you to have that justification. So I mean, this is not like Brandon said, this is not a forever job. The sauce is it's very very challenging at this period. You probably shouldn't do it. So it's like, but it's also you can do the sacrifice, work through it, and make sure your family has that understanding of what it is, and then also knowing that at some point you will go away, and that's okay. But it's a very little chance that I think to be such a rewarding job like the one that the sauce will offer.
So our next question is, what does the ratio look like for really working in the hospital versus out training? We it again it depends. We try to do a kind of a 50-50 split. Give enough time to be in the hospital to be able to gain that knowledge and training and your proficiencies as a provider. But the training piece also comes into it. It's really demand signal. It's just the demand that's necessary for that time. So there's a variable, but we like to do a 50-50 split to keep those skills on both sides readily available.
Yeah, I think for I'm very OR centric, and so I try to get when I'm back home. I try to be in the OR 2 or 3 days a week. Las Vegas, I sit in my own cases. In Birmingham, our ologists are supervising the scenarios or sitting in my own cases as well. And then it's just trying to, when you're home, trying to maximize that clinical experience. I'm still protecting my weekends. I'm still protecting that family time and taking the leave that I need to and everything. But as you're ramping up to deploy and being able to exercise and making sure your team is ready to do the mission, that kind of transition. So it's seasons of practicing and seasons of sauce. So it kind of depends on how much OR time you get. So do hospital CCUs, I'm assuming it's cardiac care units, critical care units provide adequate acuity to prepare you for SOST. So one of the things that Rick had mentioned earlier is the military civilian partnerships. So University of Alabama Birmingham for Det 1 folks, and then University Medical Center of Southern Nevada for detachment 2 Those are both level 1 trauma centers with very high acuity for sick trauma. Um, uh, I'll say I can speak more to the Las Vegas experience because that's where I'm at. Is that that's the only level 1 trauma center in Southern Nevada, and so we get everything. And so I'd say that there are plenty of very sick patients that I'm able to take back from the ICU to the OR that are ICU that are the nurses are able to go and work in the ICU and manage things like CRT, manage vents, manage multiple pressure transfusions, things like that. So the work is there. I think Birmingham is very, very similar.
Yeah, very similar. And even in our trauma base and down in the ED, we're seeing some of the same injury patterns that we do downrange. And even some of the motor vehicle accidents, you'll have patients come in that, bilateral amputees, blunt force traumas, gunshot wounds. So very close and similar to what we'd see downrange. And then also in our critical care units, even in the ICUs, they're taking care of really sick patients, along with working in ECMO. You can go up to the ECMO floor. We have a burn surgeon that comes in and we rotate. So you get to see that whole kind of across the board medical piece while you're there. And honestly, to prepare you for SOST, if you're working in a CCU, it depends on the hospital you're at, but I think that it does set you up to be able to see those and manage those patients. It really comes down to that management and then really understanding the pathology and what you're going to see.
So how many anesthesiologists on the team that just CRNAs? So right now we're very much anesthesiologist heavy. We have one CRNA and the rest are all anesthesiologists. That's just by who's applied and who picked up. It's not a preference one way or the other. So if I had 6 CRNAs apply for my next phase 1 selection, I'd be ecstatic for that. So we don't have any, we're agnostic as far as like who we pick for either one. The level of care the military that we're able to expect for pre-hospital trauma is we expect the same as nurse anesthetist as and then how many years in the ICU is preferred from nurses before deployment?
I'd have to ask one of our nurses.
I want to say 2 to 3 years on the most recent application.
I think so too.
I'd have to verify. It's on the website, but I would say a couple of years experience. Obviously, we're not going to look at the measure if it's been exactly 3 years. So if you're in that realm of 2 to 3 years, feel free to put an application because that's enough time for you just to get the reps in and get the experience to organize the patient.
So next question is, what does our material management look like in an austere environment? And is logistics difficult in a forward environment? Yes, it's very challenging in that environment. Funny is that we've been working a lot of that while we've been down here today. So it is very challenging. So we are very light and maneuverable. So for us, we carry a 2 and 4. So we carry enough to do 2 surgeries and 4 resuscitations out of 6 rucks. And then we have litters and other things that we carry with us as well. But in that pack, we have to plan accordingly. And blood is usually probably the most challenging logistical piece that we take. We have the ability to do what we call a whole blood drive, a buddy drive, where we can do, pull blood from one of us or somebody else and give it straight to the patient, depending on the type of blood. But logistics is one of those things that you try to plan ahead for and have it in place and ready to go in case we need it.
And this is one of the skill sets I think that we are such a small organization. We oftentimes are our own logisticians working with conventional military to try and get the things that we need. And so that's another skill set thing that I would say that I've gotten pre-anesthesiologist. I've gotten really good at med log, especially after my last deployment, and that's just by necessity. So yeah, it's a thing, and we are always trying to get better at it. And we're also trying, as we talk about great power competition, as the Air Force is looking towards other combat employment, things like that are definitely things that we're considering actively trying to make our initial deployment and resupply plan better so that we are relevant for the next fight's going to be.
So, are there many women in SOST? Yes, we have some amazing teammates that are women. They're in key leader roles. One of my teammates is down here with us who runs the pipeline. So Yes, we do, and they're outstanding. They crush it. They set the bar really high, and they meet the standard or and exceed the standard in a lot of the things they do. So that opportunity is open to not just males but also females. And yeah, I can't speak any more about how amazing our teammates are.
Yeah, it's we don't have minimums, maximums, or anything, but like we have an amazing female teammate. Like it makes the team so much richer and better. Honestly, we're able to. I had the same teammate on my last deployment. She got me through that deployment, and so that these are the we have really really great teammates. Agnostic together.
So next question is average years of medical experience before applying the SOST. So it really depends. So for respiratory care practitioners, we're really looking at that three to 4 years, really being graduated with your schooling and your program before you come over. Physicians, obviously you're going through your residency. I'll let you speak on the physicians, but as a respiratory care practitioner, we're really looking for somebody who has their boards done, has everything kind of taken care of on your, mandatory side of things, and then trauma and critical care experience. So really, 2 to 3 years of experience in that field before we'll even take a look.
And then, so for the nurses, again, that 2 3 years of the specialty experience, and then for our physicians, it's really we'll take you straight out of residency. If you recognize that you're probably going to be at least 30 or near 30 by the time you're going through residency. And so we got to you're not getting any younger. And so I'd say a lot of our current team members came straight out of residency. It's also not to say that we haven't had some very well experienced surgeons and anesthesiologists who have done their own thing for a couple of years and then decide, hey, I want to give this a shot at the team. So there's no minimum, there's no maximum really, but really just having residency.
Okay, so SOST and the evac from Kabul. So I actually was in Afghanistan for the withdrawal, and our teams did amazing work. We actually had two SOST teams, one from Det 1 and one from Det 2, go out for that operation. Challenging, very challenging to do. It was a tough time for our nation at that moment and for the people of Afghanistan. But with the training and the things that we were able to do, we were able to embed with other surgical teams that were not soft at all, which was great. And that shows that interoperability and that ability to work together. Because in that environment in Kabul, it was all hands on deck. It was everybody needed to be able to work together to save the lives of those that we took care of that day. And then the planning and the prep. When you talk about austere and you talk about limited supply of stuff, that was one of those environments that we had to really plan accordingly for what we were going to go in with. But being able to work with everybody, being able to have the flexibility to go into that environment, to be able to take care of those casualties. And it wasn't just Americans that we were taking care of. We were taking care of men, women, and children from Afghanistan, and understanding having a language barrier and other things and other factors. But the work that everybody did, especially not just SOST, but our other partners up in North Carolina, also the FST, the GST that was out there, the team that came down from Bagram, the critical care air transport teams. Everybody came together to get everybody out. It was the largest mass casualty event in 10 years. It was the largest airlift that had happened. And you talk about, an 18-hour time frame that we were able to get everybody evacuated. What an amazing thing to be a part of and to be there. But we'll always remember the 13 that we lost in Afghanistan.
So we're getting towards the end here. And, I really appreciate people asking questions and being engaged and wanting to raise their hand and give it a shot to come out the SOST. So I want to say thanks for that. I think that if you're considering SOST and you are just on the fence about it, I really think that there's no harm in trying. I think that even if you come and don't get picked up, you will learn something about yourself. You will give you feedback on things that can make you better and eventually invite you to come on back and reapply afterwards. So I think that SOS has been an amazing growth opportunity. That each job I've had in the Air Force, I've learned something more about myself. That I think I've learned more about my teammates and more about the military. And I would not be the person I am today if I hadn't, back in February 2020, right before COVID, gotten picked up picked up the SOS. So I think that it's really something that is you shouldn't just do it.
Yeah, like Major Brent said, take the chance, take the shot, come out and learn a little bit about yourself. Test yourself, challenge yourself, and have the opportunity to come to be and work with this amazing teams and really are my family. 7 years of doing this, and it's been the best experience and also the most fun I think I've ever had in my career. And the questions just don't stop now. So we're going to answer more questions and look for more answers on Instagram and log on. And please send questions and we will answer them. But thank you so much for your time and thanks for letting